Good evening, everybody. I've made my first mistake already, so all the pressure's off. Everybody can relax and have fun tonight. So my name's Ken Clary. I'm the chief of the Bellevue Police Department here in Bellevue, Nebraska. We're coming to you live tonight from the police department downtown, and we're here to talk to you about recruiting for the police department. We're almost exactly a month out, so it's a perfect time to get your applications in order for you to see that Bellevue is a place for you. We're going to answer some questions for you tonight. Why we're coming to you, what makes us special, all of those things are going to be talked about tonight. We're really going to answer questions when it comes to recruiting a different demographic. We believe it's important here at Bellevue to represent the public that we serve. So we're going to talk about recruiting demographics that are underrepresented in law enforcement, specifically women that are about 13% law enforcement. That hasn't changed since the mid-1980s. We're here to fix that. We're also here to talk about minorities, specifically nothing, all minorities. We are here to represent the community that we serve. It's important for that to occur. There are multiple studies that have been completed throughout the last 3 decades. All of them say that a police department that actually looks like the public they serve is a better police force. They actually can speak to their public better. So we're here to answer your questions tonight. 26 years in law enforcement. I spent the majority of my career in the Iowa State Patrol. I was sworn in as your police chief here in Bellevue on September 1st. Couldn't be more excited to be here. We've got a great group tonight that's going to talk to you and answer your questions. If you got questions, please send them in, and we will try to get to them if we can. But I'm going to turn it over to the group for them to introduce themselves. So, Josh? Excuse me. We're going to start with Ryan.
Hear me clear? So, I'm Officer Augustine, Ryan Augustine, Bellevue Police Department. Probably the newest officer here. Started in June of 2018. Lived here most of my adult life in Bellevue, and lived here most of my adult life in Bellevue. Husband, I have 1 kid. Second one's on the way, and yeah.
Happy to be here.
Happy to be here. Yeah, first time.
Hi everybody, I'm Detective Cassandra Ward. I work with our Special Victims Unit here at the Police Department. My primary role in Special Victims is working with victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and abuse and neglect of vulnerable adults. But on a less official capacity, I am a mom, I'm a wife of about 10 years. I love the outdoors, and I'm also excited to be here.
Hello, my name is Sergeant Terrell Ducker. I am the supervisor of the school resource officers here in Bellevue. Outside of work, I'm a father who enjoys football, enjoys watching his kids play football. I enjoy golf. I also enjoy just life in general. I am a survivor of COVID and a stroke from COVID. So I'm definitely happy to be here.
Good evening. I'm Sergeant Lindsay Bettworth. I am currently assigned to a shift road patrol. I am a boy mom, 2 wild boys. They keep me entertained. I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister. I enjoy This Is Us. I have a degree from Bellevue University in sociology with a minor in psychology. Also played softball at Bellevue University, and I'm happy to be here tonight.
Good evening. I'm Officer Joshua McGuire. I work road patrol on C-Team, Best Team here in Bellevue. I'm a husband. I have a wife at home. I'm also a member of the Army National Guard. I'm a chemical officer here in the state. I'm on the SWAT team here at Bellevue. I've been doing that just about 6 months. Really enjoying that. I graduated from the University of Nebraska Lincoln, and I've worked at Bellevue for about 5 years.
All right, before we jump into the questions for the panel, I will remind our audience, if you have a question for the panel that you'd like to have answered, post it, send us a direct message We'll try to get back to you. You can also send us an email address. If we don't get to your question tonight, we will respond to you as soon as we can. So feel free to weigh in as we're going along here. So we'll start off first question. Lindsay, can you tell us qualifications that must be met to become a police officer? Things like testing, education, physical fitness, that kind of thing.
Yes, first we'll touch on the testing process. Right now, our testing dates are February 13th and 14th. If you go to the Bellevue Police Department website, the information is there. We contract out with Marlow and Associates. The deadline to register for this test date is January 29th. As far as education, to become a Bellevue police officer or Nebraska police officer, a GED or high school diploma. As far as being a citizen, you do have to be a U.S. citizen. You have to possess a Nebraska driver's license. And as far as the physical testing, I think Officer McGuire is going to get into that.
Absolutely, Sergeant. I can talk about the physical testing. You are required to pass the Cooper standard, which consists of sit-ups, push-ups, a vertical jump, a 300-meter run, and a 1.5 mile run. The beauty of this test is these exercises can be done anywhere. You don't need a gym. You don't need to be a gym rat to do these. Just some time and dedication. Do your sit-ups, do your push-ups, and go for a run a few times, and you can make it.
All right, second question. Same thing for Lindsay first, if you would. What kind of specialty positions does the department offer here at Bellevue?
I've been on the department almost 15 years. I started road patrol. We have day shift, night shift, and an E-shift car, which works kind of both. We also have specialty units to include general crimes where you're working fraud reports, homicides, robberies, that kind of stuff. We also have a special victims unit, which primarily focus on child abuse, sexual assault of children, and vulnerable adult abuse. We also have a narcotics unit that work closely within the metro area and are assigned a different task force. We also have a community policing unit, which gets out in the community and they work on special projects. And we also have a K-9 unit.
Can you expand a little on that, Josh?
Yes, so all of those are going to be the specific units you would be assigned to on your normal day-to-day shifts. In addition to some kind of other additional specialty units you could be involved in, we do have the SWAT team. So that's an additional duty that you do on call for and do extra trainings for. You can be a member of the crash team, get called out to major crash crime scenes and assist in those investigations. Be a member of the Honor Guard, which attends law enforcement funerals around the state and potentially around the country. We have bike patrol that you would do in addition to your regular road patrol, be able to utilize that tool as a way to kind of get to some places that cruisers can't always go.
How about, I think there's probably some interest in hostage negotiation. Do we have crisis negotiation maybe?
We absolutely do. We have a tactical negotiations unit, which is kind of paired a lot of times with the SWAT team. And that would be additional training and courses that you would go to be able to kind of handle those negotiation, whether it's a hostage situation or even an armed party, like a suicidal party that just needs to be talked to in a way. And yeah, more training you go to.
Perfect. Okay, this one I'm going to throw to Dontrell. What are some of the benefits that Bellevue Police Department offers its employees?
Very comparable, competitive salary. Starting out at about $53,000 a year, 12 paid holidays, wellness, and you're allowed to work out on the clock 3 times a week. Health, dental, vision, uniform allowances.
Something else we have are shift differential pay for night shift officers. We also have, did you say education benefits?
Yes.
Did say, okay. Well, education benefits are for if you have not even started a degree or if you're trying to finish a degree. So it doesn't matter where you're at in your education career, there are benefits for you here as well. Did you talk about health insurance? Good, you already hit that. See, you hit everything already, sorry.
With our recruiting efforts over this next year or two, we are looking for lateral officers too. That's another benefit. If you come in with prior law enforcement experience, you will be allowed to negotiate your salary, the pay range, but you won't be starting at the 53.5.
If you want to pass that on over to Cassandra, I'm going to throw you a curveball.
Okay,
Ashley, out there in our audience, asked, what sets Bellevue Police Department apart from other agencies?
well, I think tonight's event says a lot about the specific recruiting effort we're trying to push right now for not only the higher numbers of recruits, but specific to the underrepresented population. We're not trying to discourage anybody from the majority of the population from applying. We're just trying to encourage more people from those underrepresented populations from applying.
Something that we talked about earlier tonight was the size of the agency. Is there a benefit to the size of our agency compared to others in Nebraska or Western Iowa?
Sure, absolutely. It kind of goes along with, I didn't want to play Div 1 ball. I went and played D2, and I didn't want to go to a college where I became a number. So this was similar to my high school and college experience. I wanted to be known by my name, not a number, and not get lost in the shuffle of the department.
Very good, perfect. All right, we're going to move on to Ryan. Ryan, can you tell us how long the hiring process takes to get to the Bellevue Police Department?
Yep, too long. No, it's approximately about 4 to 6 months. A lot of steps you have to take to get hired with the police department, Bellevue Police Department. First one, you gotta apply. You can't win if you don't play. So you gotta apply first. Second is you will get a testing date. You'll take a written test and you will take a physical test. That's the initial part. Next after that is the dreaded personal history packet. It's a very, very long packet. It's about yay thick. You got to fill that out to completion.
Is yay an official measurement?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
About this big.
All right.
Next after that, you will get your letter in the mail saying that you continue on the process, and you will do the oral board interview, which everyone loves. You will sit in a room with a panel of officers and I believe city representatives, and they will ask you a bunch of questions and grade you on those questions, and after that you leave, and then you will get the call from background investigators and the personal history investigators, if I'm saying that correctly. You will get your conditional offer of employment, barring that you then pass the polygraph, the psych eval, and medical evaluation. After that, you get your final offer, and then your start date for the police department. And then at that point, you move on to the academy.
All right, I'm going to throw you a curveball. Courtney in our audience asks, are we still testing with COVID going on?
Absolutely, yeah. Obviously, there's guidelines in place, right? I don't know the specifics on that. I don't know if anyone else can.
I'll
Can
speak
chime
to
in on
that. Yeah, we are testing. When you show up, we will socially distance. We'll have you wear masks during the testing. We will postpone the Cooper test until later, toward the end. But yes, we are testing during COVID, and we encourage everybody to apply. Perfect. So we're moving on. Let's go back to Cassandra. What days and times are your shifts?
Sure. So in special victims, as a detective, my hours are 4 10s in a week. I work Monday through Thursday, and I get to pick what my hours are in those 4 days. So the hours vary depending on what unit you're in investigations, but for the most part, we work 4 10s, and it fluctuates between Mondays off or Fridays off, which is significantly different from road patrol. So I think I'll let Josh answer the road patrol shift questions.
So for road patrol, I'm obviously, again, C-team, overnights, which is 6:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. It's a true overnight, it's a 12-hour shift. We have 4 road patrol shifts, A, B, C, and D. The day shift rotations, A and B shift, work from 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. So we have that full 24-hour coverage. We also have two cruisers that work what we call E-shift, which is from 2:30 p.m. to 2:30 a.m. That helps cover kind of those heavy call load times at the, getting out of school, coming home, that kind of time frame. You get a lot more calls for service, vehicle crashes, things like that when you have a lot of people out and about. And then helps cover that shift change so that we can still respond to calls and our response time doesn't increase simply because officers are coming on shift and leaving shift. Those are the shifts that we have.
Perfect. While you still got the mic, I'm going to throw you a curve. All right, here we go. Lucas in our audience wants to know what he can do to become more prepared to be a police officer.
Wow, that's a great question, Lucas. I take advantage of opportunities as they come. Try if you can, if there's ride-along programs, if there's, I know here at Bellevue, we have a Citizens Academy. Get in on that. It gets you a behind-the-scenes look at what the department is about, what we do, what the day-to-day is. If you're a student, I know I did 2 internships while I was in college, and those were phenomenal opportunities to, again, not just get a better understanding from the behind the scenes.
So would you say it would be fair that they should talk to some police officers and get to know what the entrance expectations are, but also there are things you can't do that are automatic disqualifiers, so you need to live a fairly clean life. Would that be a fair statement?
Definitely. I mean, you have to make good choices in your life. Clearly, if we're going to enforce laws, we have to abide by those laws as well, and it's important to have kind of a good standard for yourself.
Very good.
And there are certain things that will immediately just disqualify you. So
Perfect. If you want to pass it on to Lindsay, I'm going to throw you a curveball.
Ready?
All right. So we're going to talk about mental health training. Can you talk about what type of mental health training you're going to receive while you're at the police department here?
Yes, we are mandated to have mental health training, I believe, every year. And continuing education, it's very important for ourselves, our own mental health, and then dealing with a possible mental health crisis that we have to respond to with the public. So it's very important that we continue this training, especially with last year and this year. It's a tough time with COVID and everything, so our department takes mental health training seriously, and we offer that.
So would it be fair to say that professional development and training of our officers is important here at Bellevue?
Absolutely.
Okay. And maybe I'm just going to throw it out there. We're doubling the amount of training we're offering our officers this year.
Yes.
In basically every aspect. So while you've got the mic, tell me, this is going to get a little bit personal maybe. Biggest challenge you face as being a female in law enforcement?
Absolutely, this is a great question. I was hired in 2006, and I always wanted to be a cop. I enjoyed watching the show Cops growing up. I know it's kind of funny, but as far as being a female in law enforcement, it's challenging. When I was hired, I believe we only had 5 or 6 females out of maybe 90, out of a department of 90 officers. One of the biggest hurdles I had was in 2011, I became pregnant with my first son, and we did not have a pregnancy policy at that time. And we didn't have we didn't have a light duty policy for off-duty related injuries. So I went through that, and it went the direction that it needed to go for myself and my family. I was a union member at that time, and I felt that it wasn't fair that I wasn't able to get light duty when my OB said at 16 weeks you need to work the front desk. So I worked through that, and my union represented me, and now we have an amazing pregnancy policy, and we also have a great light duty policy. So I kind of had to be the guinea pig for that, even though there was past practice with other males. I know other females from other agencies had it way worse for me. But the other challenge that I faced was not having a mentor. Being in a male-dominated field, it's tough when you're a female. We're hard on ourselves, and I feel like I had to, I think as females, we feel like we have to prove ourselves a little bit more, because one of the myths is, well, you're some females are weak. I can't see you in this line of work, but if you put your mind to it, you can do anything you want to do. So I would encourage females that are watching this, if I can do it, if this whole table around me can do it, we're very diverse. If you put your mind and you take your training serious and you want to do this job, you absolutely can. One other challenge for me was figuring out how to go to the bathroom with all this equipment on, but that's a little comical, but I will pass the mic over to Detective Ward because I think she has a few things too.
I'll say that I went and sought Lindsay out before this to see what her answer was going to be to this question because I didn't want to answer the same way, but I think it was pretty powerful when I went and talked to you and we had the same exact answer. So I'll try and just expand on it a little bit. The biggest challenge in being in my career was walking in with a very small mentor group of other females to follow through this career. I think if you don't have that disadvantage, you kind of you take that for granted, knowing that you're following in someone's footsteps or someone has paved the way for you in some ways. So not having that broad group of women at this department was a challenge. But I think that kind of speaks to why Lindsay and I are here to usher the next wave of females or applicants in to show that you can do this job as well.
Perfect. I'm going to throw you one from RJ out in our audience. What should I expect with tomorrow testing? What's the, how hard is that test?
Well, it aligns with our expectations to be hired by this police department. You need 11th grade level of testing, which is a high school level of diploma or GED level of education.
Very
Do you want me to expand on that at all, or is there a more specific part to that? So we're talking just like basic skills of communication, writing, reading, and the English language obviously is a must.
Perfect. So if we could pass it on around to Josh, we're going to talk about, if you could, what makes a good police officer candidate?
A good candidate, I think, it may sound cliche, but I think it's important now more than ever, honor, integrity, and a willingness to serve the community. You have to be able to talk and communicate with people. The vast majority of what we do every day is talking to people, using our words, and figuring out a solution. So you have to be a problem solver. A big myth is you don't have to be a big buff. We need all types of people, all types of personalities to make a cohesive team to best serve the community. It does take some sacrifice. There might be some late shifts. Your family needs to be on board with that. And I think it's very important to have a good support system, whether that's family, friends, whatever it is for you, to have that support system to go home to.
Perfect.
Sergeant Betzworth has something to add to that as well.
Perfect.
Another good thing for a police officer to be able to do is to multitask. We're always doing multiple things at one time. You also have to be able to deal with the highs and lows of the call load that you have. I know being in investigations, we deal with a lot of death investigations and serious crimes, but as Officer McGuire said, being able to figure out how to relieve stress when you get home and not take what you just saw or what you went through home. For stress relief, I like to work out. It's great that we have a wellness policy within our department because not a lot of agencies have that. So I utilize it when I can, but I also don't abuse it. And I tell my crew, hey, if you want to go work out, go work out. It's a benefit of our department.
Very good. The next question is going to be for Cassandra, if you want to pass that down. I'm going to jump in, though, and answer a question for Corey in our audience about process for out-of-state laterals. We do lateral testing every other test that we do. We do a normal applicant process through Moore & Associates here upcoming, and then we're going to do a lateral process after that. And if you're an officer in good standing, you can apply. And we will accept those applications, and you can qualify for what they call reciprocity. you qualify for reciprocity, you go to a 4-week training that they hold twice a year at the NLETC, which is the Law Enforcement Academy for Nebraska. You would be fast-tracked through that 4-week academy, which is much shorter than our normal academy, and then go right into FTO. All of our hires go through our FTO process, which shows you how to be an officer at Bellevue in particular, because every department's a little bit different. So, Lucas, we're going to go ahead and answer your question as well. He asked, does Bellevue have your own academy? We actually utilize 2 academies, the one at Grand Island and NLETC. But our primary academy is here at the Sarby Douglas Academy, our local academy, which is not a residence academy. You actually get to go home Monday through Friday and weekends. So we're very proud of our academy. We can have up to 24 recruits in it at a given time, and we hold 2 academies there annually, currently. So that answers Lucas's question. And I'm going to jump right into one more, and then I'll turn it back over to Cassandra. Madison asked, how long is the academy? Well, our Sarpy Douglas Academy can range up to 20 weeks. We extended due to COVID because it got shut down a couple times, but and then the FTO process, as Madison asked, is 18 weeks in length. So all total, start to finish, it's most of a year, but it's going to teach you everything you need to know to be a successful officer for the Bellevue Police Department, and it makes you better able to serve our community. So moving on, Cassandra, how do you maintain a good work-personal life balance?
Sure. Well, I think that's a learned skill. As you come through law enforcement, you don't really know what to expect when you get into it, but I learned pretty quickly that family comes first. I think anybody at this table can attest to that. There's got to be somebody there when you go home at night. So that has to be the priority. So when work gets hard, keeping communication strong with the people that are at home, and asking for their patience with you, because it's just as much their sacrifice as it is for any of us at this table be doing this job. But for me personally, pre-COVID, I enjoyed going to the movies. I enjoy anything outdoors with my daughter and the dog. In my free time, when it's not cold out in the garage, I play with woodworking a little bit. But other than that, I'm really into movies, whether it's at home or at the movie theater.
Very good. How about Brian? Do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I'll say everyone's way they maintain a good personal life balance is going to be a little bit different. Mine, I have a lot of hobbies. I always have something to occupy my time, whether it's physically, mentally. The big part of it, though, is, like Sandra was saying, is your ohana, your family is important. That's everything. That's not including your immediate family. I have great friends that are always willing to listen to the stories, whether it's good or bad. My wife is a big part of it, my kid. So my wife, we work 2 completely opposite schedules, 2 completely opposite jobs. So she always loves hearing my stories, whether good or bad. She's always there to support me, especially in the bad times. The other part of it is I enjoy listening to her stories, even though her job, comparably to mine, can be mundane. But it's always a good break from work. I really try not to bring work home to family. Try to keep them as separate as possible. Obviously, at times that's not the case. My friends, close friends, is good. Other officers, we're always willing to help each other out, listen to each other. Like you're saying, good support system.
Great.
Yeah, that's about it.
All right, I've got a question from Susie. She asked, do we have officers that speak other languages here?
We do, yes. I'm not 100% sure on what everyone speaks. Obviously, Spanish is a good one. I have a couple officers in the department right now that speak Spanish. Pretty diverse. We got some officers that speak Jamaican, Creole. My family's from Hawaii, so I know a little bit of Hawaiian, Pidgin English. Shout out to the family from Hawaii.
So is there a pay incentive for speaking Spanish?
There is, yes. You get a slight pay increase. if you can speak Spanish. I'm not sure on specifics on
Very
that one,
good.
but
Yep, no, perfect. And we're moving on. We're going to start the next question with you. Has the current climate changed your outlook on your job? And why should somebody want to follow this career path currently?
well, obviously, this last year has been exciting. It's going to continue to be exciting. I would say, for me personally, I would say it hasn't really changed my outlook on job. There's times where it does affect you. I mean, obviously, you just look at the news, look at social media. But basically, for me personally, it boils down to the fact that, you know, I took the oath, I signed up for this job. I'm here to do my job and serve the community. That's pretty much it. It hasn't. We're police officers. We're here to do a job. We're here to serve the community. Why would someone want to follow this career path? Well, if you're that person that wants to, you know, make change or change the way we police, sign up, be a police officer, be part of the change.
Perfect. How about you, Dontrell? Do you have thoughts on that?
Well, this one's pretty personal to me. COVID has touched us all in this last year. You or your family. But more importantly, it's touched me with the changing and the new leadership. They're willing to work with me after my issues that I had with COVID. Before, this would be probably my last week working here. Chief Clary came to me and said that he didn't want to lose me or officers that were in my position because he values us. He believes that we can make a change, and he didn't want to give up on us. So thanks to Chief Clary for working with me. I greatly appreciate it. My family greatly appreciates it. Second, it's been pretty tough with the things on social media, police misconduct, anti-police rhetoric. And I'll talk about it a little bit later, but it's kind of hard for a person of color specifically to see some of the things that have occurred. But me specifically knowing that I do not work with individuals like that and believe in what I do and they believe in what they do. And it's pretty tough. We want to get rid of those individuals too. And we have the belief that with time and not through social media or canceling that the right things will happen. Things will take care of themselves. Most importantly, this is a time to apply. Police departments aren't laying people off. We're hiring, and a lot of people are being laid off. The unemployment rate's pretty high. And if you're qualified and you meet our qualifications, and you want to make a difference in someone's life, then we're not going to lay you off. We're going to pay you. We're going to pay you well. So come make a difference.
So if you'll hold on to that, that actually leads into David's question. What size academy class are we wanting this year? David, we're actually hiring 8 out of this testing cycle. So you can come and be one of our 8 that will attend the SDLEA, which is our local academy. And then, Cassandra, if you want to start, take this one from Randy and start the next question. Is there hand-to-hand, close combat type training here at Bellevue?
Short answer is yes.
Okay. What can you
She's a DT instructor. Defensive
okay.
tactics.
Let's throw it down to Lindsay then.
We'll go back to Lindsay.
Yeah, and then we'll pass it back to Dontrell for the next question.
Yes, we do train defensive tactics every year, and actually this year, I think we are training probably 3 or 4 times a year. It's very important in our training, we go hands-on occasionally, but to have the right tool set, we do train in defensive tactics, and most of our defensive tactics instructors have gone to the Tactical Athlete Program at Premier Combat, taught by Ryan Jensen. It's an amazing program. I've never been so sore in my life, but there's great techniques, and we utilize that, and the training that we went to is set for first responders, law enforcement. It was great training. We also teach CQB, close quarter battles, so this is something where if we're going to clear a building or a car, some of our SWAT guys and firearms instructors will train CQB a couple times a year as well. We also train in de-escalation. Some of us are better at de-escalating than others, but de-escalating is very important in this career. If we don't have to go hands-on, trust me, we don't want to. If I can talk my way out of a situation, I'm going to try that first. It's very important that we try and de-escalate whenever, if at all possible.
So hands-on training, close quarter battles, that sounds, really intimidating probably to some of our audience. Do you know of any officer that we might have, no matter their stature, that couldn't make it through that? I mean, is it set up for us to fail?
No, it's not. It's set up for, we have officers that are maybe 120 pounds versus maybe 300. And it doesn't matter what size, shape, gender, race. We teach it in a way that it's easy. Cops can do it. We train multiple times a year, so it's effective and it doesn't affect size, stature.
Perfect. On to Dontrell and Cassandra for this next one. What have been some hurdles that you've had to overcome to get to where you're at?
Well, for the longest, I was the only African American on this department. It was different. I came from an agency that was 6% African American, and to come here and be the only one that looked like me was pretty tough. I was treated fairly. I was treated equal, and they treated me with open arms. They welcomed me with open arms, and just the hiring process. Mine was a little bit quicker than most, but it was still long. I left my previous law enforcement job in New Orleans to come up here because I was away from my family for the 3 years that I worked for the NOPD, and I knew I wanted to get back in it. And once I saw the advertisement for laterals, I applied. It was a 3-month process for me from beginning to end, and it was pretty long, and I thought that I had made a pretty bad decision by leaving law enforcement because I know how tough it is at times to get into the position.
Well, I don't know if I've overcome it yet, because it's still a daily occurrence, but I am part of the queer community, and I'm gay, I'm out, and I work here proudly. I guess one of the hurdles I've had to overcome is when I cut all my hair off and started to identify more with my community. I love my short hair, I'll never grow it out, but it definitely makes me more of a visible identity of the community I come from.
So I think maybe along that lines, is there a percentage of female and minority officers we're required to hire?
No.
Not at all.
No.
But I'm going to go out and say we want to. It's truly about a drive to be more like the community that we serve. We're not required to, but we're holding events like this so that people can ask the questions. They can see that they're not alone when they come here, and they are welcome here. So not required, but we're requiring it of ourselves. So that didn't have a name attached to it, but moving on. Cassandra, you can go ahead and start this one. Looking back what would you tell yourself as a recruit if you could go back in time and give yourself some advice? What would that be?
My biggest thing, taking on all the stress of what is a new identity of being a police officer and learning new laws, policies, and how to communicate with people. The biggest reminder, if I could put it on my sun visor, would be human. I think it's a super stressful job, and if you get into this job and have not built any of the skills that are needed, there's a training process for a reason. So with that training process, you have to remember to be a human being when you're engaging with the public and trying to help with their problems.
Perfect.
I would definitely tell myself to slow down, listen, communicate, study. The 18-week academy that I went through, or the 12-week academy that you will go through here, involves you doing stuff at home. You taking time out of your evening to read up on laws and applying them in your head, or doing scenarios with your significant other, and thinking like a police officer, because this isn't something that you just all of a sudden wake up tomorrow and you're a police officer. It takes time, and that's why we have this 12-week academy, and then we have our FTO program. So it takes you about 10, 11 months to finally be out there on your own, but as a law enforcement officer. So just take your time.
How about you, Josh?
What I would tell myself back 5 years ago, it's actually something I learned a couple years ago in some Army training I went to. It's hunt the good stuff. We interact with people a lot of times on maybe the worst day of their life, and this is just another day of my shift. So that can sometimes be tough. I know it's been said multiple times, like not taking things home, but it's hunt that good stuff. Find that call where you made that difference and you felt like you really had a good impact, or it really went well, and focus on that and really let that feed you, because that hunting that good stuff will keep you going for the long haul.
I'm going to throw one in that my dad told me that I've told a lot of recruits, and that's never stop learning. Take every opportunity and never stop learning. So if you would, Josh, start us off with, what's your favorite part of working in law enforcement? I mean, it's a great career. What's your favorite?
Well, it's a blast. And in that same vein of never stopping to learn, that is, I think, one of the greatest opportunities. Is there's so much training and so many things that you can do. We have a lot of different specialty units that we talked about earlier. All those come with their own little training, little spin on training and stuff like that. And it constantly keeps it fresh. I worked Hy-Vee produce before I came to this job, and I could tell you what I was going to do every day for as long as I was going to work that job. And this job is dynamic. It changes every day. It changes all the time, and you have constant opportunities to learn and grow. That's one of the things I love most about it.
I like a lot about this job, and I know it's cliche. Everybody says, oh, I love helping people. I love helping people. I'm going to say it. That's one of the reasons I enjoy this job. I also enjoy this job because it's never routine. It's always responding to different types of calls. We are solving other people's problems, and the camaraderie is second to none. I work with my brothers and sisters. Yeah, biologically, they're not my brothers and sisters, but I work for a great department, and I love it. And there's also a lot of different opportunities. I've done a lot of different opportunities as a female police officer, and we have that opportunity.
Ryan, could you, I'm interested in what your favorite thing.
Everyone pretty much harped on it already. Love how dynamic the job is. It's different every day. You wake up, there's things you can expect, a lot of stuff you don't expect. But pretty much it's just plain fun. Being a cop is having a front row seat to the greatest show on earth. So obviously there's things you're going to see that are terrible, but there's a lot of times it's just fun. You get to go fast, lights and sirens, blueberries and cherries on. I mean, it's just fun. I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie, so that this job it just adds to the fun.
While you've got the mic, why'd you become a police officer?
It's gonna be cliche. I mean, I wanted to be a cop my whole life when I was a kid. Oh, we'll start off watching both good and bad cop movies, watching cops growing up. Always thought it was cool. Some family in law enforcement, so the exposure there, just the good exposure of places I've lived in my life to officers in those communities. I thought it was the coolest thing. As I got older, you learn to understand that, I mean, helping people is paramount, and I enjoy that. It's the biggest part of my job that I enjoy, is just making a difference, helping people. There's people out there that ain't gonna like you, but when those people come to you and tell you thank you, or you see the difference that you make in their lives or in the community, it's the most rewarding thing that you could do.
Sounds good. I'm going to have you pass it over to Dontrell, but while it's going by Cassandra, if you could, give me a couple myths about law enforcement.
Couple myths.
Yeah.
Well, I think tonight's a good example that cops are not great public speakers. Some of us. I think that's a myth that we can all just step up and be the lead in any role. I think we try, and we'll give it our damnedest, but at any rate, cops are not perfect. I think the myth is that we're robotic and that we wear a uniform, we all operate the same way, we're all built the same way. So I think it's important to know that we're all different, and we approach this from our own perspectives in life, and obviously our foundation of training.
Perfect. If you would, Dontrell, two-part question. Why'd you become a police officer? And give me a couple more myths about police officers. First, start with why you became a police officer.
In 1992, I was a witness to a double homicide at Drake Diner in Des Moines, Iowa. That was the first time that I got to see the inner workings of how police work, detectives, photo lineups, trial attorneys. And I knew going into college that following year, I wanted to get into law enforcement. Myths are, we have quotas. There's no such thing as a quota. I tell my family, friends, we don't have quotas. We do our job. We try to prevent crime from occurring. We try to let people know that their tail lights out and I'm pulling them over to write citations. We're there to help and to be a shoulder to cry on at times, and to be there for someone to vent to us and for us to listen. But it's just important for people to know that we are humans, and we do make mistakes, as she said.
Could you give me, while you've got the mic, just a couple of challenges that you personally have had, or maybe not even you personally, but that African Americans might face in law enforcement? The couple things.
Lack of diversity. Everybody always wants to be around people that look like them or can relate to them. For years, I was the only African American. I think 3 years after I was hired in 2001, they hired the second African American. In 2010, I was promoted to the first. I was promoted as the first African American sergeant. Shortly thereafter, one of the 4 other African Americans, he was promoted to sergeant also. It's just, sometimes it's hard to relate to people. If you don't listen and understand where people are coming from, that's the toughest part. And that's why we need diversity, because we all are different.
I was just going to ask you, why is it important to have diversity in policing? You know, you kind of touched on it. If you want to add anything else, and then we'll hand it over to Cassandra.
We have to be and understand the people that we service. We have to be able to empathize with them. We have to be able to understand where people are coming from. We have to be able to understand their language. We had mentioned earlier that we had offered the incentive of speaking Spanish. We have 2 to 3 officers who are fluent in Spanish. And it's hard to go on these calls when people are in need and they can't understand, and they can't understand us and we can't understand them. So it's important to have those people available so that they can communicate with them. Communication is key, and it's important in law enforcement, and we all are different, and it's important for us to know that we are one and the same, and that we want to help you.
Yeah, to expand on some of the things Ducker said, I'm speaking from my place of privilege, which is a white female. I am queer, but I'm also a white female on the face, so I think a lot of times having diversity, by adding my status into diversity of this department, I've been able to exploit it a little bit to be able to better serve the public that lives here. I've been a part of shifts that need a female to do a task that a male would either not feel comfortable doing or that has been requested, and I'm happy to oblige. I've also been a female peer to a majority male officers, where I think, I don't know if Lindsay, you can say the same, but there have been male officers that feel comfortable talking to me about things that maybe they wouldn't talk to their male peers about. So I've been happy to be a support for them, and have that reciprocated as well.
While you've got the mic, got a question from the audience. Do you feel accepted at the Bellevue Police Department?
I do. I guess accepted has different connotations to each person, but I'm not ashamed of who I am when I come to work. Like I said before, I am who I am. I wish there was more of the queer community at the police department, but I'm very much accepted, and I would encourage others, if there's interested applicants in the community, to apply and put your name in the running.
And while you're passing the mic over to Josh so he can put his 2 cents worth in, Dontrell, hang on to the mic 1 second. Do you feel accepted here at Bellevue Police Department?
I do. Especially since now there are others that look like me. I don't think people truly understand what it's like to be the only one. It was difficult at times, even though I was welcomed, but it was still different. It's difficult being the only one.
Okay, and going back to the question before, Josh, let's talk about the importance of diversity in policing.
It's been touched upon a little bit, but it truly is we have to represent the community that we serve. And we live in an awesome, diverse country with thoughts, ideas, people, races, cultures, all of it, and it all comes together. And even in our little corner of Nebraska and Bellevue, we have the diversity here in our community. It's important for us to be able to reflect that so that people in our community feel confident and comfortable coming to the police, calling the police, working with the police. And then it just provides a tool, like Detective Ward talked about on the shifts, being able to do things that maybe not everyone feels comfortable doing, or responding to a call that somebody would feel more comfortable talking to somebody who looks like them. That's why we need it, and that's why it's important to have that throughout the department, not just, well, we hired some, and that's awesome and great, but we need it throughout on the road patrol and the detectives and specialty units all over, so that it really can be represented.
Okay, so over the last couple of questions, it seems like one of the bigger issues in law enforcement today is really the diversity, because law enforcement currently faces a crisis in police legitimacy, where the citizens are giving up their freedoms to us, but they have to feel as though they're being treated fairly. So if we were more diverse and we looked more like them, they might feel like they were treated more fairly. Would that be fair to say? That's a question from RJ asking about the biggest issue. Would that be fair to say, one of the biggest issues we're facing?
Yes, it's definitely one, but also another issue is people don't understand why we do what we do. And that's why communication is important. People don't understand why we have certain tactics. People don't understand why we choose to pull a weapon. People don't understand why we choose to go hands-on. And if we can have a dialogue and talk, that's how things are going to get better in the society, especially in this climate now. We have to communicate.
So would you say that sounds like a great answer to why you think many police departments are now deciding to recruit officers of color or other demographics, but why do you think many police departments still aren't recruiting in that way? Can you speak to that?
There's a few reasons, I believe. They don't actively recruit because they don't think that they need to. Until leadership believes and makes it a priority to have people of color or women on their department, things aren't going to change. I'm a frontline officer. I can't make decisions in regards to who we hire, or who we target. When leaders start making that pointed effort to go after people that are different and communicate with them and learn that, yes, we are different, but we're also the same. When that finally happens, this world will definitely be a better place.
Cassandra, can you give us a real quick on why you think many police departments don't recruit?
Just real quick, I think actively recruiting means they're out there saying it. So there may be departments that are recruiting, but I think doing something like what we're doing tonight, where you're communicating, that's why you said communication, so we're communicating the need, and that comes with a level of vulnerability for a department to say that there's a need there. But we also live in an era where transparency means more to the community than anything, so we're transparently communicating that tonight.
All right, shout it out. How do you decompress after a difficult call?
I'm a communicator. I externally process. I'll find whoever will listen, and afterwards I'll probably get a good exercise in.
How about you, Ryan? How do you decompress after a call, a difficult call?
Same. Gym is one of my favorite things to do physically, to take my mind off that stuff, so.
Perfect. One more? Anybody else?
I got it. Oh, you got it?
Yeah. All right. Coming around to Josh. He's got it.
Better be good.
Oh, it's gonna be good. So after a tough call, music. The cruisers have some decent speakers if you put the right tunes in. So some good music. Just turn it up. Turn the radio up. I got it right in my ear, so I don't miss calls. But you can turn it up pretty loud. Just kind of let that last call go.
And there's probably a TV show or two you could watch. Shout out one you're into right now.
Wow, I feel like wow. Wow. Tune in to ABC's The Bachelor on Mondays. That's a great show. You should watch it too.
See, that screams fun times right there. So, all right. So I appreciate everybody's answers tonight. I mean, this is a phenomenal opportunity for us to showcase who we are. We're the third largest city. We have the third largest department in the state of Nebraska. We've got opportunities for you here. We're, like they said, we're large enough for you to have opportunities in many, many realms that smaller departments don't, but yet we're small enough for you to know every one of your coworkers. Day in, day out, we've got each other's backs. So we want you to come to our testing February 13th to 14th and go through the process. If you're younger than that, if you're younger than 21 and you want an opportunity to see the department, we're going to be starting an internship program. There will be a few opportunities for you to delve into that through time. So there are a number of things that we're doing to try to better ourselves, and we want you to be a part of that solution. So if you're willing, come out to the testing, be a part of the answer to the problems that we've thrown out there tonight. We've got a great group of officers. I can't say more about that. September 1st, I was sworn in. I couldn't be more proud to be a member of a department than I am this. And so if you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to email them to us or direct messages to us. If we didn't get to them tonight, we will get back to you soon. So appreciate all the interaction from everybody online. So that's all we've got for you tonight. Thank you for tuning in, and hopefully we'll do this again soon.